you?
Who else were you expecting?
Well, bust my boiler.
Okay, so I've ranked the Thomas series and the films. You'd think the logical thing to do is rank the songs or something, but no, I'm going to talk about something that I'm very, very passionate about. The narrators. The narrator in Thomas is a very important job to get right. You need to have charisma, good character voices, and most importantly, you need to bring something unique to the table, something that makes you stand out amongst the other narrators. Have your own take on the stories. Do it your way. Now, some of the narrators greatly succeeded in this, while others, not so much. But the question is, who is the best narrator and who is the worst? Well, in today's video, I'll be answering those questions and everything in between. This is every English-speaking Thomas narrator ranked from worst to best. And before you ask, no, Britt Allcroft unfortunately doesn't count. While she did narrate the work print of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, she doesn't qualify as an official narrator. If she did though, then she would be very high on the list, as I love her character voices and her soft tone. And also, Railway series narrators like Johnny Morris don't count. And neither do narrators for DVD bonus features. Sorry, Ben Forster. Anyway, let's start. Coming in at last place, I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, but it's Michael Brandon. Before all of the nostalgic hit era fans try to assassinate me, let me give you a bit of a lesson. Just because you're nostalgic for something doesn't mean it's good. I'm nostalgic for Thomas and the Magic Railroad, but is Magic Railroad good? Absolutely not. I can enjoy Magic Railroad because I'm nostalgic for it, and it brings back fond memories. I'm nostalgic for season 8 to 12, but are they good? Once again, absolutely not. And given that Brandon is the longest running US narrator, it makes sense for a lot of people to be nostalgic for him, but that does not mean he is good. Now, the reason Brandon is at the bottom of the list isn't because he's boring, because he isn't. I think Carty said it best when I was talking to him about this. Pierce puts me to sleep. Brandon keeps me awake, but only because of how horrendous he is. The main problem with Brandon is his terrible choice in character voices. In almost every character he talks as, he never gets it right. For example, Rheneas, too nasally.
How am I going to make the Children's Day really special?
Gordon, too gruff.
Not me, puffed Gordon. You never catch me looking so ridiculous.
Oliver, too... What the fuck do you even call that?
I'm a great Western engine. I shouldn't have to shiver.
Now, don't get me wrong. Brandon had some good moments. This is one of them.
Who holds the old record, whistled Thomas. Why, I do.
But other than a few merits here and there, Brandon just doesn't work. And it's sad because if he changed his character voices up a little bit, he would be a lot more bearable. It's just a damn shame that he didn't. Now, he wasn't as bad as only the narrator for the CGI series. He works better there because he's only telling us information, and not constantly shoving terrible character voices down our throats. But even then, when comparing him to his UK counterpart, being Michael Angelos, he just pales in comparison. Angelos has so much more energy than him. Take this scene from Hero of the Rails as an example. Here's the scene where the narrator is supposed to be excited and make the scene more intense. Let's just compare his narration to Michael Angelos's.
Thomas's heavy freight cars pushed him on and on.
Thomas's heavy trucks pushed him on
And into some potato cars. Potatoes bounced everywhere. But Thomas sped on into a flatbed of jelly barrels. Sticky jelly flew in the air and landed all over Thomas.
to some potato trucks. Potatoes bounced everywhere, but Thomas sped on. Into a flatbed of jam barrels. Sticky jam flew in the air and landed all over Thomas.
But still he went on. With a scrunch and a crunch, Thomas crashed into the bushes and came to a stop.
With a scrunch and a crunch, Thomas crashed into the bushes and came to a stop.
You see, he just doesn't compare. If you actually like Brandon's narrations, then that's completely fine. I'm glad you can enjoy something that I can't, so don't feel bad if you do. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Coming in at 8th place is Pierce Brosnan. Now, if you want to know why Pierce is bad, let's just let Pierce Brosnan himself explain why.
I've spent many years narrating these stories to my own children, and I have 5 children. Telling bedtime stories and then actually performing it in a studio are 2 different techniques, really.
Yeah, he tells the Great Discovery like a bedtime story. And tell me, what is the motive of a bedtime story? You're trying to put people asleep. And that is exactly what Brosnan did. His narration is extremely dull, and he's way too soft. However, when the situation calls for energy, he does deliver, but I'm sure Angelus would have done better. There's not really much to say about Brosnan because he only narrated 1 hour-long special. He was planned to narrate up to season 14, but that never happened. However, some of his season 12 narrations can be found online.
Ooh, I'm sorry I'm late. I took a shortcut, but I got lost.
Huh. I never get lost.
Thomas had been chosen to help the builders. He was very busy and very proud.
Overall, Brosnan definitely tried, but it's just a shame he failed. I'm kinda glad he never came back. Coming in at 7th place is Joseph May. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of his Thomas voice. As Thomas on his own and not the narrator, he's pretty okay. It's just the fact that after season 21 and the whole Big Adventure situation, Thomas would be the narrator from season 22 onwards, and Joseph May is the US voice for Thomas. He isn't horrible, but my god, there are so many better narrators. When he sings, it's very hit and miss. For Sometimes You Make a Friend, he is abysmal, and you can hear the strain in his voice when he tries to hit the high notes. It's painful. But like other songs in maybe The Great Race or Journey Beyond Sodor, he's decent. There's not really much to say about Joseph May, other than the fact that the concept of Thomas being the narrator doesn't really work for me. Either have a separate narrator like in the normal TV series, or have no narrator at all, like the Big Adventures film did. Just missing out on the top 5 is John Hassler. John Hassler is by far the best CGI Thomas voice. The actual award for the best Thomas voice is John Bellis. He will always be undefeated.
Little engines can do big things.
John Hassler is pretty decent as the narrator. Like I mentioned before, I don't like Thomas as the narrator, but even so, John Hassler is miles better at playing Thomas than Joseph May. Hassler is also amazing at singing too. Just listen to this little segment from the UK version of Sometimes You Make a Friend.
So I'll hold on to hope, I'll hold on tight, for a chance to make things right. I'm looking for you, I'll come through, if it takes me all my life. I'm sorry, so sorry, and I don't know what to do.
That is how to do it. Joseph May, take notes. Just making the top 5 is Mark Morahan. Out of all the narrators, Mark Morahan is definitely the one I have the least to say about. He isn't bad by any means, I actually love his narration. It's just that he never got to really show his character voices. He has energy and he clearly loves doing it, it's just that he's quite plain. Although I have to say, I love his Mr. Evans segments. Even if Mr. Perkins was a lot better, Mark still clearly loves doing it, and he has a very friendly voice and face, something that you kind of need when being a Thomas narrator. Overall, Mark Morahan is pretty good. Nothing phenomenal, but just pretty good. Coming in at 4th place is Alec Baldwin. I know, all the US fans are probably screaming in their chairs right now, but let me explain. People say that Angelus isn't a good narrator because of his track record, and that half of the stuff that he did was bad. Well, if that's the case, then so is Baldwin. I don't care what anyone says, Season 6 Alec Baldwin is bad. He has absolutely no energy whatsoever, and he dropped literally all of his good character voices. So I will not hear any slander for Angelus when Baldwin's track record is just as bad. And no, before you ask, Magic Railroad does not count. While Baldwin oddly committed to being Mr. Conductor and was pretty good, he's still not my cup of tea. Although I will admit that I do really like his voices for Salty and Elizabeth.
The docks! The docks are hard by the sea. Oh, thank you, sir.
So you're the little puffer that's broken down, and you're just an old steam truck. That would be vintage steam truck.
Now, Season 5 Alec Baldwin, however, is a different breed. While I've never been a fan of Baldwin in general, I have to give him a lot of credit when it comes to Season 5, as he kills it there. From the completely unique character voices...
Oh, help!
cried James. Go away!
The energy he has.
We'll just have to make a run for it, Percy. There's going to be an avalanche. And he was right. Oh, help!
And the way he tells the stories in general is really good.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Percy, said the bride. It's the best good luck package ever. And she kissed Percy. Thomas laughed as Percy blushed bright red. I love weddings, sighed Percy that night. Did you enjoy your kiss? But Percy was embarrassed and pretended to be asleep.
I can't help but give Baldwin a lot of credit for season 5. He may have only been good for one season, but that one season he did was the best narrated season out of all the English dubs. Just making the top 3 is Ringo Starr, the one that started it all. While his narration for season 1 is quite plain and dull, I will give him a lot of credit for season 2, as his energy and character voices in that series is out of this world. His energy in the US version of A Close Shave of Duck is unmatched, and it's something that not even George Carlin could replicate.
Suddenly, it was the conductor's warning whistle. Hurrah, 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 laughed the cars. Chase him, bump him, throw him off the rails. They yelled, hurry, Duck, hurry, said the driver. They raced through Edward Station, but the cars were catching up. As fast as we can, then they'll catch us gradually. The driver was gaining control. Another clear mile and we'll do it. It's up to you now, Duck, cried the driver. Duck put every ounce of weight and steam against the cars. It's too late.
I'm going to make a controversial statement here, and I'm going to say that Ringo is on par with George Carlin as Mr. Conductor. Both of them do a fantastic job, and it brings the character to life. It does annoy me though how people in Facebook groups who are typically in their 30s or some shit say that Ringo is the best just because he was the first narrator. And whenever someone questions them and asks why, it's almost always because they've never seen anything past season 1 and 2. And that really annoys me because there are 2 narrators that are far superior than him. And which of those 2 narrators is the best? Well, let's see. Just missing out on the top spot is George Carlin. George Carlin is one of those rare narrators where everything he did in Thomas was good. Season 1, he's great. Better than Ringo. Season 2, he's even better. Once again, I prefer him to Ringo on a lot of occasions. Season 3, once again, he's fantastic. And Season 4, he goes out with a bang. And not to mention Shining Time Station, where he is amazing at Mr. Conductor too. If I didn't grow up with the UK dub, then George Carlin would have definitely been number 1. But let's not say negative things. Let's talk about George's best assets. Energy.
Whoosh! He hissed. Get me out! Get me out!
Check. Amazing character voices.
Hold back, whispered Scruffy, and pass the word to the others.
Oh,
Groaned Scruffy.
I don't like this. Oh, I'm coming apart.
Check. Heartwarming tone.
Old engines can't pull trains like the young ones can. They can if they're mended, Old Faithful, smiled his driver. And that's what's going to happen to you. You deserve it.
Check. Humor.
I propose, said Gordon, that Percy be our disputation.
Me? Squeaked Percy. I can't. Rubbish, Percy. Hello, Percy. It's nice to be back. Percy jumped. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir. You look nervous, Percy. What's the matter? Please, sir. They've made me a desperation, sir. To speak to you, sir. I don't like it, sir.
Check. You physically cannot fault George Carlin. Sure, he may have been a bit less enthusiastic in Season 4 when compared to Season 1, 2 and 3, but he is still very entertaining. And given that I only started listening to his narration a couple years ago, and now he's my second favourite narrator, that just goes to show how good George really is. If you think George Carlin should be at number 1 on this list, then I completely understand why, and I do not blame you at all. Now, you may be wondering, how can Michael Angelus be better than Carlin? Well, let me explain. Michael Angelus is someone who has been with Thomas through thick and thin. For Season 3, he had a lot to live up to. A Beatle, in fact. People didn't expect much, but did that get to Angelus? No. He persevered and kept going, and he would always come back for another season. After getting kicked off Thomas's first theatrical movie, Did Angelus leave? No, he stayed. After he had purchased Thomas and turned it into baby mush, did he leave then? No. After he was replaced with a more popular actor, did he return after they asked for him back? Yes. Angelus could have easily left so many times. And people will say because of money, but that's just not true. Angelus was doing countless other shows, so Thomas would have definitely not been his main source of income. He obviously did it because he loved it. After Thomas switched to CGI and became the most repetitive thing ever, did he leave? No. He stayed until they let him go. And when the time called for energy, Angelus delivered. In Hero of the Rails, he has so much energy that you could tell he's been holding in since season 6. And even though he would have been nearly 60 at this point, he didn't give up, and he gave his all into the energy for Thomas. And not only did he do the series, he did adverts, he re-narrated the Railway series, he did PC games, countless audiobooks, 13 series, 5-hour-long specials, a whole spin-off series, he came to premieres, he did cassettes. Angelus has done the most for the Thomas franchise out of any narrator. There's no debate there. Did he care that he was the most overlooked UK narrator? No. Angelus's line deliveries are like no other. He knew how to do sad lines, humorous lines, energetic lines, happy lines. His character voices are unmatchable. Voices like James, Percy, Gordon, Duck, Donald, Douglas, the Fat Controller, Diesel. The fact we lost Angelus last year is devastating to say the least. It came as a shock to everyone in the fanbase, and it hit me harder than I ever thought it would. Angelus was a voice of comfort and security for children and adults alike, and was so for 21 years, longer than anyone else. He may not be the most well-known narrator of Thomas, but I can tell you now, he will always be my voice of Thomas.
Duck still wonders about the lands beyond the horizon, but he enjoys being with friends most of all, and I think he knows that sometimes the best travels are those we can only dream about. Don't you?